Hi there, boys and girls. We've got another football throwing activity for you today. If you remember back in the fall, we taught you how to throw a football and catch it. So this is going to be like a part 2. First thing I want to do with you is make sure that you remember the differences between throwing a football and throwing something like a baseball. There's a lot of similarities, but there's a couple things that change and we want to make sure you're doing correctly. First thing, we still get our sight orientation where we point our shoulder at our target. We're still going to get our cape, but we're going to change the cobra. If you remember, we taught you how to hold the football with your fingers on the seam. If you have these seams on a football that you're using, you want to put your fingertips along them at the back half of the ball. We don't want to have it in the middle or the front. We want to grab the pointy on the back side of the end away from our target. Once you've got a nice big finger spread and you've got your thumb tucked underneath, we want you to hold the ball up at your ear in a letter C grip. So I take my letter C with my fingers, it's right on the ball, and now I'm ready to throw. Once you get in your stepping, throwing, and twisting motion, when you release the ball, make sure it's pointed at your target and it's gonna roll off your fingers. That's gonna cause the ball to spiral, which we want. And on the follow through, after the finger releases, we want the thumb to point down, okay? So that's how you need to throw a football in order for it to spiral in the air. Now the catching of the football, because you're gonna do this with at least one other person, if you remember, we have a diamond grip. We put our thumbs together on the bottom, our pointer fingers together at the top, and that makes a nice spot for the nose of the football to go through, all right? We can catch with our body, it's just not gonna be effective long term. So if you're still new to throwing a football, just practice throwing and catching today. Just get a partner, stand about 10 yards apart, and practice throwing back and forth until you're able to get a consistently good spiral with accuracy, and then challenge yourself on the distance. But if you're ready to take it up a notch and start throwing to a moving target, follow me as we go through the next series of videos. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to throw to a moving target at a walking speed. That means the receiver, the person you're throwing to, they're not going to be standing still anymore, which is a stationary target. They're going to be moving. And specifically what they're going to be doing is they're going to be going straight across your field of vision. So you can set up cones for this, or you can just have a person go straight across in your throwing lane. Now, the reason we're doing at a walking speed is because you have to learn how to lead your target. What that means is because they're moving, I can't throw it to where they are, I have to throw it to where they're going to be. And the speed at which they're moving determines how far in front of them I throw. So let's see it at a walking speed. Good. Keep moving, don't stop. So as you see on a walking pace, I'm not throwing it towards the cone until they're a couple steps away. But as we increase the speed, as they go to a jog, I'm gonna have to let go of the ball earlier or throw it harder, or a combination of the two. So let's see it at a jogging pace now. Now the goal is to make sure that they catch it while they're still jogging. We don't want them to have to stop moving in order to catch it. So you gotta make sure you lead them just enough, not too little, not too much. Jogging pace. It's okay if they don't catch it. The point is you got to be able to put it in a place where they have the opportunity to catch it. There we go. So on the jogging pace, I'm throwing the ball a little bit harder and I'm letting go of it a little bit earlier because they're going to get there quicker. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go at what we would call a full speed or a sprint, where they're running as fast as they can. Now I've got to throw it really early and just about as hard, maybe a little bit more. So as the thrower, you're adjusting to the receiver. They're still trying to use their diamond pattern to catch, but my throw is changing based on what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a faster runner, I've got to throw it earlier and harder. If I see a slower runner, I'm going to wait a little bit longer. I'm only going to lead them a little bit, and I'm going to throw a little bit softer. So when you were the receiver, there's two different ways you can catch while you're running. We talked about the diamond catch, and that works well for when you're facing the person throwing you the ball. But sometimes you're going to be turned slightly away from them, and you can still use the diamond pattern. But if you find that you have to turn your hands the other way, the diamond pattern doesn't work. So what we're going to be doing is, if you look at Mr. Arriaga, when he turns his bottom hand, he's going to put his pinkies together. If your pinkies are apart, what's likely to happen is the ball will go through your hands, whereas if your pinkies are together, you'll be able to wrap your fingers around and secure the catch. So you're going to see a couple different versions on here. You might see a diamond pattern catch, you might see pinky together catch. It's all going to depend on where the ball goes and if they're facing me or not. So we just did some crossing routes, and that's where the receiver is going straight across my field of vision. Now we're going to be doing some diagonal routes where they're going across my vision but also away from me. So now I have to factor in the distance that's changing. So watch as we go through some diagonal routes at jogging and full speed. When you're ready? Oh, just too far. So one of the things that's going to happen when you're throwing is you're going to learn from your mistakes. The first throw, I threw it behind Mr. Arriaga. He had to stop and turn and spin to make the catch. And then on the next throw, I tried to correct that mistake, and I ended up throwing it too far in front of Mr. Rich. So I'm going to learn from my mistakes and then make the adjustments as we go. So that throw was a little bit high, but it was in the right spot. He was able to make the catch. Let's do one more. And that was perfect. So that's the diagonal route. You're still factoring in the distance that you need to lead them with. Don't throw it where they are, throw it where they're going. But now you've got to factor in the fact that they're running away from you, and you've got to then throw it further, not only farther in front, but farther away from you with a little bit more speed on the ball, a little bit more velocity. This version of the quarterback throw and the receiver catch is going to be what we call a vertical route. So we started with a horizontal route running straight across. We just did a diagonal, which looks like a corner or a post route in football, if you know the terminology. This is a vertical route where they're going to run straight away from me down the field. Now it's going to be more of an over-the-shoulder catch. So we really don't have the ability to do a diamond position with our hands as the receiver anymore. You're going to have your pinkies together. And now as a quarterback, I've got to throw it where they're running to. They're running away from me, so I'm essentially throwing it over them, and it's going to rainbow down into their hands, hopefully over the defender if they have one of those as well. Here we go. So I threw it just a little bit too far. I'm using the cone just kind of as a guide. So if you have something to put down, a shoe, a cone, a water bottle, an area for your receiver to run towards, it also gives you a place to throw the ball to, and then you're going to make the adjustment as you go. Some are going to be too far, like that one to Mr. Arriaga. Some are going to be too short. The goal is to keep the receiver moving as you throw. When you're ready? So just off his hand, so I need to bring it back just a little bit. And that one was pretty good. I had to put a little bit more air under it. I gave it a little bit more of a rainbow arc as opposed to a line drive, and that seemed to work perfectly. If you're having fun with throwing to a moving target and you want to challenge your receiver a little bit, let's teach you a couple of basic routes that you'll see in games of football. And we'll start with the easiest one first. We call this a little button hook, where the receiver is going to run from one cone straight out or downfield to another cone about 5 or 10 yards away, and they're simply going to run fast to the cone and then turn, face the quarterback, and catch the ball. Now, as a quarterback, you don't want to wait until they turn to throw the ball. You want to throw the ball right before they make their cut or turn. That way the ball is arriving right as they are getting their hands up. Yep. There we go. So the next route we're going to do is a little crossing route, and it's a 5-yard crossing route. You can make it 5, 10, however many yards you want. But we're going to have the receivers run 5 yards, make a sharp cut, and then come directly across, kind of like the very first moving target throw that we did. So let's see this one. Go. Run straight across. Ooh, I led you. Sharp cut, come across. Boom. One more. Go. Or if the receivers are dropping the ball, as a thrower, your concern is, can I put it where they can catch it? And if they drop it, no big deal. It's just something to work on. But the point here is, when you throw to a stationary target, it's very simple, very simple. When you throw to a moving target, there's a lot more going on. You have to factor in the speed of your throw, the distance that it has to travel, and the speed at which they're running. And remember, always throw the ball to where they're going to be, not where they are. So now it's your turn to go play some catch and try hitting a moving target. You can choose any one or all of the drills that we showed you, starting with the easiest and working up to the most complex. And if you really want to spice it up a little bit, try getting a third person, a family member or friend, to act as a defender, and this will add a whole nother layer to the throw and catch. It might look something like this. Go. Nicely done. Nice little skinny post.